intro
live.
song. Sing an intro song
Going live.
for Facebook's intro song.
Intro song for Facebook Live. All right. So this is us. This is the Collective Conversations on Tuesday nights at the Cave Collective. I am going to be hosting tonight. I am Wyatt Fenner, and this is Scott Anthony Miller Jr.
Where's the camera to look at? There.
Right there. Is that it?
There. Oh, there.
Oh,
that
and
one.
there too. So, anyways, welcome to the Cave. Welcome to Cave Collective Conversations. We are going to be talking with Scott Miller Jr. about just his whole life, whether it be Flatiron Recording Studio or his band Dead Marthas. So let's kick it off by talking about some of the early years here. What got you into music?
Thank you. Yes. What got me into music? It was a slew of things. I mean, my dad played in bands, from when I was before I was born to up until like I was middle school, somewhere in there. Varying things, but like church bands.
And Aaron Barron.
Yes, and everybody, toured through the Midwest for several years in Aaron Barron and other stuff like that. And a couple other bands that were iterations of that too. But yeah, it was, I don't know, I fought it real hard. I didn't want to do anything that he was doing at the time. So, but I knew that I really liked playing music, so I started playing drums first. Was the first thing that I like picked up. And then I got put in a band as a bass player, which was like his test run for our rock school program that the studio does. So he tested it on us. It didn't go horrifically wrong. And so he was like, okay, well, maybe I can do this with more people. And yeah, from there, started playing in, let's see, I'm trying to remember like some of the early bands. I think the first one I was proud of that I enjoyed playing was Radio and Red. And that was a fun like pop punk band that we did.
And that was like you and two other friends, right?
Yeah, that was me. I realize I should probably hold this up. I'm sorry if you can't hear me. Sorry, Facebook.
Sorry to our crowd.
Yeah,
our lovely
sorry.
crowd this evening.
But it was Radio and Red, and we were just like a run of the mill pop punk band, but it was a lot of fun. It was fast, and we got to play with some really cool bands over the years of doing that, all through like a lot of the places that don't exist anymore, like the Imperial Inn. We played there. I don't think we ever played St. Joe's Pub. I think that had already collapsed by the time we got around to
Had
it.
it really?
Yeah.
What years were you guys doing stuff like? That was kind of truly your first like band that you started on your own.
That
like, that you and your friends had started on outside of rock school.
Yeah.
And
So
stuff.
with Red and Red, that would have been. So if I graduated 2007, that would have been like 2000 and what? 2002, somewhere in there.
So your middle school years essentially.
Yeah. We were like 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. Started kind of jamming and doing stuff, and then decided, okay, well, let's go and actually try to do this. And we booked our first show with this band called the Jean Bonnet, and it was the Jean Bonnet, and then I can't remember the other. I still have flyers from it, but we were petrified because they were like, at the time, they were probably one of the bigger bands touring around the Midwest. And I don't know how we managed it. We just like emailed the guy and was like, "Hey, can we play that show?" And they were like, I don't know." And then they couldn't find anybody else local to play. So we were like, "Well, yeah, well, let us play." And we had an amp that was like 9 feet tall that we'd built ourselves.
Yeah.
And we were so like we just had no idea what we were doing. So we were just kind of stumbling through it and just trying to play loud, ruckus, fast music.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so like you said, well, I mean, before Radio and Red, your first thing that you were kind of thrown into in the first iteration of what became rock school. Like that was your first real band kind of going into like just playing music, right?
Yeah, I mean that was the one that we were all kind of like arranged marriaged into it and
Yeah,
put
like
into it and then
because
sent
it
out.
was you and some of your dad's students, right?
So it was me, it was one of the original owners of Haggerty's son, Nate Haggerty,
Okay.
and then it was another cat named Zach that played guitar.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where the first iteration of Rock School like was Haggerty's, correct?
Yeah. Yep, yeah, we did Roxville and Haggerty's for it's on its 19th year now. I want to say we did the first 10 years or somewhere in that neighborhood at Haggerty's. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. 'Cause your dad before starting the recording studio, that's where he had done lessons for years, correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, he even started the first recording studio, a little 4-track tape studio in a room at Haggerty's.
Oh, that's
Like
awesome.
that was one of like the little
I did not know that.
mini things that he did just as a test run kind of thing. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, and so something special about tonight actually is the fact that not only am I involved with the Cave Collective and happy to be here, but I am one of your
Proteges.
self-proclaimed proteges.
yes.
Yeah, and what I would consider little brother, and I think you would say the same, and have many a time. So, so yeah, Scotty taught me how to play a variety of instruments, and I started playing drums when I was 8, and then my parents threw me into rock school when I was like 9, 10,
Yeah.
and that's where I had met you and Dad at the 8th Street location of when Flatiron Recording Studio was called Fire Station 7 Recording Studio.
Yeah. Yep.
And so rock school means quite a lot to me, but what does that mean to you? Like, what is rock school to you? Like, if you can put it into words.
It's interesting because I had some of my most like formative years playing in rock school, even when I was in bands that were playing shows outward in like the punk scene. I was still playing rock school shows. Still, like I was still participating pretty far into playing, and then I transitioned into basically more of mentoring and teaching with the kids. I was still playing in the band with them, but it was like a buffer zone that if my dad couldn't figure out a person to, like, if he couldn't give attention to this kid for this section because he was working on something else, I would help out with, and so that's where it kind of evolved from there. As I mean, it means different things because now I teach it. I run half the bands. It's like a love-hate of you love that it exists and you love doing it, and it does get taxing sometimes, and it's
For sure.
but because for every band I have a Wyatt or a Chase or these other kids that
Chase, by the way, is another rock school student that we have in the audience tonight.
that I love dearly, but make me pull my hair out. So.
Oh, totally. Well, and like I mean, this means a whole lot to me. This Collective Conversations does, because, and it's also kind of weird because me and Scotty were talking about this the other night. We were just chatting, and I had gone over because we were celebrating his wife's birthday, and we were just talking, and normally we just go down these insane rabbit holes where we don't remember half the things that we say, but it all means something in the conversation and leads to the next thing. But it just means a whole lot to me because that's generally our normal conversation, and it's weird because I'm in this professional interview conversation almost where like I have to watch what I say and not try to cuss a whole lot, and and that's going to be really hard, and it's been hard so far, but it means a whole lot to me because you took my brother's place when he had passed away when I was real young, and I was in rock school. And then you started. I mean, you taught me a whole lot as well as Dad did, and so it's really cool because I just remember sitting in lessons and you would be like, don't turn out like me. But as the years increased, it would just turn out. I would turn out more and more like you, eerily
Yeah,
so.
I keep trying to do that, and I keep failing utterly at.
I think every time you say that, the kids just get closer to you.
It's yeah. I should stop. No, yeah.
No, don't stop. Don't stop, because I mean, I think you saved my life for sure from a very young age, and I continue to watch it happen with kids every single day.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's the thing that keeps me in the teaching game is just that, it's you and it's the other kids that I have taught, over, I think I've been teaching for like 12 years or something like that. And the that's the only driving force that doesn't make me just close up shop and go, okay, I'll see you guys later.
Totally.
Because it's the ability to give a kid something that they are able to use to combat all the other garbage that they have to deal with day after day after day,
Well, and that's I switched from playing sports to being specifically in lessons in rock school because I always hated like this. I don't know. It always felt that the kids were being derogatory towards me and just mean to me and talking down to me. And I was like, it's just because I'm a weird kid and I'm not like the rest of these middle school athletes that are so utterly in this like, teamwork state of mind that they don't really realize that they're just leaving all these kids that are a little different and a little weirder behind. And so I think that's also why like coming to rock school every week was like coming to a safe haven for me. It was one thing to look forward to after school.
Yeah, and I think the thing for that is that not necessarily that I like. There's not an endorsement for like, oh, don't play sports, don't do this. It's more the idea that there needs to be more outlets for because I was the same way. I was like 3 feet tall until senior year of high school. I barely existed. The only thing I could do, the only marketable skill I had, and unfortunately still have to this day, is music. That was like I was like, okay, well, I can play, I can sing fairly well, I can screech in a microphone, and people seem to enjoy it. So
very much so.
If that's the case, maybe there's a spot. And I think that was the thing for all, like, I could talk for hours about how growing up and then getting into the underground hardcore scene and like the hardcore scene in the early 2000s, how detrimental that whole hardcore scene was to music in general, unfortunately, due to like the style of music and this like real toxically masculine stuff that was going on. But at the same time, it was still the place where the weirdos could go, and I don't even like using those terms like weirdos or oh, that guy's a loser freak, even though that's what I think is, because that's what we were named.
I think
we were called that.
I was called that too, and I proudly wear the name weirdo on my sleeve, and I think as do you.
I do, I guess, as a dad now, I like to deter the idea of like needing to label anything or anyone in a certain light. It's kind of like if you can't relate to the person, that's okay, but you don't need to like give them a label so that you can like shuttle them away to a spot where you're like, okay, well now I can categorize this and I'm good.
Right.
Like I think that's the problem. Is a lot of categorization. That's not a word. I'm gonna leave that one. If it is, I can't pronounce it.
You were not good at school either.
No. There was very little, very little scholastic things that I excelled at.
That is a real word. Good job.
Yes, I have some. I have an amazing vocabulary for being as illiterate as I am.
But yeah, I mean, so not only were you doing that rock school stuff in high school and into your 20s, and you started as I did when I was kind of moving out of rock school, you guys started putting me in bands where you guys just would be like, all right, well, we're gonna head out. You are the teacher tonight.
Put you in the
The mentor position, sort
the
of,
student
and
teacher thing.
so I relate heavily to what you were saying about all of that because it's cool and it's weird and it's frustrating and it's fun, and these kids are younger than you just a little bit, but I mean honestly, it's really good that you had that relationship with that slightly younger generation because I think that you've been pushing kids like you said for like 12 years now.
Yeah, and I think bridging that gap and being able to not like be old enough that kids see you and don't immediately go like, oh yeah, I can mess with this guy because that's in essence what happened to you. You were almost too close
Not
in age.
in an essence, it's what happened.
But being old enough that I can separate myself, but being young enough that I still relate heavily to what they're going through.
Totally.
Like not the vernacular. Like I have to have kids like explain what they're saying all the time to me. Like they'll say like
sus.
yeah, there's
hate
all
that word.
sorts of things and I'm like, "Huh?" Like I need a dictionary to go through for students now that I can just go through and be like, "Oh, that's what he means." Okay. That's what that word is, but
Right.
I think there's a website called Urban Dictionary. I should look up.
He also doesn't know the internet, I guess, either.
Yeah, I should
But
into the
no,
internet too.
it's really awesome. And then so and like I had barely touched on this coming out of being in rock school and slightly teaching and mentoring rock school, but then as the years went on, you started teaching and having your own teaching schedule as well as Dad. I mean, a lot shorter of a schedule because you had less students, but I mean still you had
Yeah, 'cause I started in 2000 and 9 teaching. So
yeah,
that'd
you're
be
like
11
20 or
yeah,
something.
yeah. So yeah, I started and I had like like 4 students.
Right.
I was making like $200 a month, you know.
Totally sleeping on your friends' couches. And
Yeah,
all
well,
of that
yeah,
good stuff.
'cause at that time, my wife Angela was in school, and so we had this little apartment downtown. We're over there. We had this little apartment downtown, and it was like a shoebox. We stole the cable from somewhere. It just happened to come out of the wall. We were like, sweet, free cable. But yeah, we were, it was not glamorous by any means. It was.
As I don't think your early 20s should be glamorous. I think they should be 20. I think your early 20s should be glamorous in a sense, like glamorous to you, something that you can like see and be like, this is my life and it's
Yeah, it was
fun.
glamorous that we were like kids who were married and we're like, I can't believe people let us out of the house and we can just do what we want right now.
Totally.
But yeah, for the most part, it was very much this idea of like, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know, like, I didn't intend to like become a teacher and a mentor and try to huddle these kids into music.
I think all you knew was that you were like happy that you were doing it.
I was just happy not to be a cowboy anymore. My job directly prior was I had to dress up like a cowboy at a dinner show.
What's that place called?
Circle B. I worked at Circle B.
The
Chuck
wagon,
Yeah.
where you get the $1, the
So I was-
99-cent pancakes.
Yeah. No, not that one. Not that
No.
one. No, I worked at the only South Dakota Chuck Wagons of the West Association branded Chuck wagon.
Okay. So this is
I will-
completely different from what anybody will ever know.
Yeah. I will hold pride at least that we were the only one. But yeah, it was up near Nemo or whatever that road is. It was on
Okay.
385 out there.
Okay. Now
But
I
yeah,
think I know what you're talking about.
so I went out and did that, but then and once again it was like my friend played guitar in the band up there. So all roads always end up leading back to music in some sense.
Totally.
But
I mean, and that's, I don't know, when you were teaching me from very young, it was always just that's I think why we gravitated towards each other so much, because, and I think that's why students just relate to you, is because like music is their outlet. It is their life. It's their everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
what gives them hope at the end of the day, and that's why people, not even just students, but that's why people gravitate towards you because they can feel that energy,
I
radiating
hope
off of
so.
you. I mean that's how I see it from an outside perspective, I guess. But you you definitely kind of like instilled in me from a very young age that like if that is your life, then it will just continuously show itself.
Yeah, well, I guess I've always been a huge proponent of just like just being able to be whoever you want to be and not worrying so much about, and that sounds super cliche, but like, I've had students over the years who are like, "Oh, my dad wants me to go play football, but I'm really into, I like gardening and stuff." And it's like, "Okay, well, do like figure out is there an option to go into something that leans in that direction?" Just instead of
Get a
this
full
idea.
ride and then get a botany
Yeah,
degree.
yeah. Well, I guess in just this idea of like you don't have to constantly you don't have to like go with the whims of what the world and everything else is telling you all the time.
Yeah,
It's okay to go against the grain. It's okay to go against the tide. Like cuz I grew up in the 90s when you were told like, okay, it was package deal. Like here's high school, here's college, here's your business degree, and there's your job. And and there
sadly not
it
much has changed.
it hasn't, but I think it's more open. Like I think there's more the idea of being able to do things outside of stuff is a little more apparent, and it's not quite as, I don't know. I spend all day playing guitar, so I could be totally off base. Maybe it is still the same thing. I just know that it feels like the kids that I teach now have a better set of options when it comes to things that aren't strictly,
I
you
think that
know.
people's mindset has changed a lot about it.
Yeah.
As far as like, I mean, being a 20-year-old kid who graduated 2 years ago,
Yeah,
it
you're toast.
yeah, exactly. I didn't go to college. Yeah, no, like I'm totally screwed unless you guys give me a job. Um, if I don't, yeah, now I'm really gonna end up like you. But no, I think people's mindset has changed to be like, yeah, do what you want to do. You don't have to go to school. But the
Mhm.
thing is that there are a slight more, I think a bit more options. But I
Well,
really,
I think you should go to college if you want to,
yeah,
or if you
do
can.
what you want to
I
do.
wish I would have gone to college.
I think that's the moral
I
of
definitely
this
wish I
little
would have.
argument,
Yeah.
right? Not argument, just this little conversation right here is just do what you want to do and
Yeah.
do what you love to do. Don't try to, I don't know,
Just try to find the best way to be true to what you are
completely.
instead of I don't know. All right, I'll
Well,
go.
what's the next thing is so you were saying that so we were talking about lessons, we were talking about rock school and like the early stages, and now we're gonna talk about where that is now.
Oh,
We're
word.
you
Okay.
said 19 years.
Yeah, this summer is 19 years. Had a pandemic break. Took a little bit of time. We finished out and figured out a way to do it distance, but it's still chugging along, man. It's still love it. Still.
Still happening. And you so how is how is the turnout for rock school and kids wanting to come and do lessons after the pandemic?
Oh, it was massive. Like the influx of kids coming back was, and I mean, yes, a lot of it was our usuals, the same kids who had been in it the previous semesters before the pandemic. But it was just that, and I think this is with anything. Like I can't take a whole bunch of credit for the pandemic in the sense of like everybody wanted to go out and do stuff kind of indefinitely. Didn't matter what it was. It was like, oh, there's knitting classes. Psh, I'm on it. Like, let's go learn how to knit. Just anything that got you out of your door
Yeah,
and
and I
not
think
staring at a screen with like 17 other faces in it.
I think that's why the cave is so poppin' is because it's just like everybody's been begging for this to happen for so long, and that's
Yeah,
why.
it's finding a way to reinstitute human community is was a huge part right after that. So
Totally, and it's really cool because when I had joined rock school, like rock school was like it was chugging along pretty good. And
Yeah.
then there was a brief period of time like well, and it fluctuated too. Like I remember there was times where like you guys would throw me in almost every band because they needed another guitar player, drummer, or bass player.
Yep, there's always like rotation times. I mean 2006 and 2007 we were at like 47 kids, 40 something like 7, 8, 9 bands, 2 nights. We would rent the Elks Theater 2 nights in a row, just like massive. And then when the 2008 housing crash, thank you. Housing crash happened. That stuck a spear in our side really deep, and that was I think the first time where we were like, wow, we should maybe think about other things we can do because there's a good chance that this is not gonna survive this, and it did. And we made it to 2020. So when 2020 hit with Rock School, we were like, I mean, God, we dug out of that. We dug out of some other things. Like, do we let it die here? That feels like a sad hill to die on.
Totally.
Like, I would rather, I'd rather push it to where its career was maybe dead a minute ago, but I didn't let it die in that fashion.
Yeah, totally. You just got a
And
shot
there
of
was
adrenaline.
yeah, and there was a new lease on life, especially just getting back into the room with the kids, getting able to play again, being able to interact with these kids that I haven't seen in 9 months, a year, that kind of stuff. That I hadn't seen except for like the side of a screen. That was the other big thing when lessons came back. That it was, you forget how much you not just miss people, 'cause like I don't know. I'm a nice person and I like people, but I also really don't like anyone. Like
I mean, there's also a difference between people and then
I don't like
your
the
kids
masses
too.
of people. Like
when you're teaching your kids, it's totally different.
yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't realize how much I missed them. Like I'm pretty sure not like some of them probably missed me, but I'm sure a lot of them were like, oh, whatever. We're back with Scott. But I was like, oh my God, they're back. Like I'm so happy. So yeah.
Yeah. And so
Whatever.
I mean it's really cool because I mean rock school's been going on for nearly 20 years, and that'll be next summer, which is awesome. I mean, like since 2002, I can't believe it. I mean, just even personally,
Yeah.
I remember when the 15 year happened, and I was like, this is still happening.
This is crazy.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, since its peak, after like 5-6 years or so, it was after its peak. It did die down. I remember
It dipped a
and
little, and
I remember I remember being in like the last couple classes that were held at the Elks, and
yep.
I remember also
You got to
like
see like both sides of it almost.
yeah, it was awesome because I remember having a really awesome summer, and then I remember like it being the last summer at the Elks, and I remember us having like to scramble between a couple different
Yeah,
venues.
weird little spots and stuff for
Yeah.
sure. So,
But it's really awesome. I mean, and the doll has definitely been the mainstay for
yeah,
like
they've been
5 years
super
now,
rad.
6 years now.
Yeah, they've been super rad with just helping us out and giving us a spot to house it. So
Totally.
we're doing that. Yeah, July 20th.
Awesome.
Yeah, is
Well, speaking
no, not July.
No,
August.
August
20th.
20th. Well, speaking of the doll in July, however, we're gonna work this one backwards a little bit. So Dead Martha's is playing with Mildred at the Doll on July 30th. Correct?
It's
And it's gonna be a costume party.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come, it's gonna be like a horror noir, like 60s, the Twilight Zone,
Vincent Price, like
yeah.
yeah, totally.
It's not a Halloween show though. I want to tell everybody, these guys
I'm gonna
and the
dress
camera,
like Winnie
it
the
is not a
Pooh.
Halloween show. The first couple of posters came out and they're like, it's a Halloween show. I was like, oh, we got to get that off the marketing. It's a costume party. So,
Oh, that still sounds like it's a Halloween show.
yeah, all right. Thanks. Thanks for that.
That's another reason why I like being up here, because I can also give you crap because you're my brother. Well, just a little bit at least. But anyways, yeah, that's awesome. How has it been being in Dead Martha's for this last year? I mean,
It's terrible.
terrible,
It's a terrible band.
terrible,
No.
awful band.
No, it's been great. Yeah, we started like 2019. Right at the end, kind of like October-ish, and then played our first show in January 25th of 2020, and then the world fell apart, and we all went into our hidey holes for a while. And then came back out, spent the time like writing, working on stuff, going, trying to figure out what we were doing, and we haven't quite gotten there yet. But it's a
Yeah,
work in progress.
You guys came out with on October 31st of 2019. You guys dropped the Wildebeest.
Yep, the Wildebeest.
Which was your first single, and then on the 25th is when you guys did your full length.
Something like that.
No, that was your because it was your release show.
No, the record came out late. The record came out in 2020 at some point.
Yeah, January 25th.
No, that we did the show. We didn't have everything recorded yet. We didn't even have all the songs written yet.
I thought you guys played through that whole album that night.
We played through a version.
Okay, a version of it.
But a lot of stuff changed from there, and like the first record was fun. I don't love it. You're the only one. It was rushed because of the pandemic, and then we got like a little in our heads and a little kind of like, oh, I don't care about this anymore. Like, just put it out, and which was tough because I think everybody got to that point with anything they're doing. Is we had that moment of like sitting at band practice and we're like, why are we like, what are we doing? We're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know if we're gonna play again, or when we do, is this what we want to be doing? Blah blah. So
are you guys writing any new like material now?
Yep, we've started some new stuff. We got off a little bit of having to get like back into like show ready, because we played May 1st for the Cave Fest, which is super rad, and then we played.
You've played 4 shows since COVID.
Yeah, so we played May 1st. Then we played May 29th. We went down to Orem, Utah, which is a beautiful state, and played a show down there. Shot a cool video for our single, Gold Prius, and then came back up here, played the 4th here, and then just last week or
I mean a week ago from Saturday.
Yeah,
when In the Whale came to town.
Yeah, played with In the Whale.
We played together actually. That was really fun. Really good show.
That was our second time.
Sorry. But yeah, no, it's super rad because my entire time in lessons and rock school with you, I was always super bummed that you weren't playing in anything, because you always seemed to have like the coolest taste in music. You always impressed me with the stuff that you were able to do on your own. And then when you finally when you had told me that you and Russ and Trevor, who are like really good friends of yours, and I've known for some time now. Russ shot my senior pictures. I remember that. And you guys have been pretty good friends for some time now, and it was just really cool because not only was I able to see you guys, and hear you guys play and practice at the studio, but how much it impressed me was the other thing. Like how much how good it was. I mean, you guys have something special that everybody, people around the world have heard you and enjoy your music. I mean, not to a huge extent. You're not breaking charts or anything.
There's definitely there's like 4 dudes in Ireland who definitely dig it.
Isn't there people in Australia?
One, Zandy. I can't remember your real name, Zandy, but yeah, there's this cat in Australia that is my hero. He's the most fun. He literally he loves the band. He reposts stuff all the time.
So sick.
He makes his own bootleg merch because we can't seem to afford to ship shirts.
There's that kid in Pine Ridge too. Will
Yeah,
William.
Will is rad too.
He's so cool. I remember like
I
he
didn't get to
posted
meet
that
him, which was a bummer. I need to actually.
yeah, him and his friend from his band came up and for that in the whale show, and they
Yeah,
were
they killed it.
yeah, they were
They were more fun
messing
than
up
we
the
were.
pit. Dude, it was awesome.
But yeah, I guess the biggest the thing like I always enjoyed playing in bands, and I played. I don't know when my last show was. It was with a band from this day forward that I also really love playing with, and I think we probably opened. No, I guess Radio and Red was the one that like we opened for some really weird. Like we opened for like Whitechapel.
Yeah, dude.
And, like
I remember telling
bands
I remember telling my coworker that you guys opened for
bands
Whitechapel,
like that like it was like this pop punk band, and then it was Whitechapel,
like
and
death metal.
we were like, oh. I mean, it was fun. I loved it. I
It's
mean,
so
I was
weird
gonna
they're
go to
so
the show,
popular.
so it was fun to play.
They're like
but
really popular now too, which is
Yeah.
like pretty awesome. They wasn't that at Roman's Rendezvous in the
Mhm,
Imperial
yep.
Inn? Yeah.
But yeah, so I played. The last show I played was we opened for Comeback Kid, and that had to have been, I don't even remember now, like 2010.
Yeah, that was
something
when
like that.
that's when SNS Boxing was still downtown. It was before SNS Boxing closed. I think it's
Yeah,
closed
well,
now.
'cause this was out at, I can't remember, some venue out.
I thought it was at SNS Boxing.
No, this
Okay.
this is a fairly big venue that
Was
I
it the
can't-
Tria?
No, it
the
wasn't
bingo hall?
Tria. It was out like off of, was it Skullets? That might have been
Very
it.
well could have been.
But anyway, so after that though, it was one of those things where I wasn't playing anything because my son was born in 2013. I got married in 2011. So I just had a lot of stuff going on, and then I had the studio that had been open since 2009 downtown, but I was just trying to like push that in my teaching and everything, and I just didn't. I'm kind of picky about people I play with because I'm not that great of a player. I'm okay, but I like need people that I mesh with,
Totally.
and that I can feed off of, and that kind of
Feed off
jumpstart
you,
what I'm
too.
doing.
Yeah.
And so it took me a really long time, and I was actually in a band for a split second before Dead Martha's with Trevor, and it never came to fruition. It had like 4 practices, and I quit the band with Trevor, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry, man, I can't do this. Like, this is stupid. It's making me mad how bad what I'm writing is. And so I was like, I'm done, and we'll just call it quits. And he was playing with Brandon Jones at the time.
Right.
He had stuff, and so I was like, you'll be fine. And he was bummed, and he was like, oh, whatever, you're gonna fine. And then I hung out with Russ like 2 or 3 weeks later, and we wrote a couple of songs together, and it clicked, and we were standing in his back porch, and we were like, what should we call the band? And I was like, dude, we should call it Dead Marthas, because I had a band called Mother Martha, Father Fred, and he had a band called Dead Spaceman. That didn't exist. The bands didn't exist. They literally was just a name.
They were names that you wanted
Yeah.
that you wanted to make a band happen out of with like a couple of riffs, but
Yeah.
like because of I think with I think being a musician with most musicians they're their own worst critic. You know
for
what
sure,
I mean? And
for sure.
I think that you are tried and true with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on myself, but I think that's it comes with the territory, and so me and Russ put that together, and then Russ goes, well, shoot, we need a drummer, and I was like, oh man, like I have a drummer, but I don't know how much he likes me right now, 'cause I may have very recently quit a band and kind of, sent him down the road. And Russ was like, oh, you got to call him. I was like, okay, it can't be that bad. I grew up with his wife, so he's got to talk to me.
Totally.
And there was no hard feelings, and he was super excited. And I think we wrote the Wildebeest with, like, we were very cart before the horse. We decided, okay, well, if we're going to come out swinging. And so we just need to make a cool teaser video. And I was like, well, we should burn an organ. And everyone was like, that's stupid, Scotty. Sit back down. And I was like, no, it's not that stupid. Hold on. And everybody ignored me. So I got on my phone. And I was like, all right, cool. And I found an organ and went and picked the organ up. And then I showed up to the studio and I was like, hey, I'm going to go light this on fire. You guys going to come with me? And they were like, oh, geez. Oh, okay. So
I remember that being like also like
yeah,
one of like the coolest videos, and it got a huge response like for like
when
locally
it just,
too.
just it was weird. It was just literally an organ on fire burning in the and I literally we took it to my dad's house. It had just snowed and like we took it out there and I didn't have gas or anything, so we were pouring like chemicals and like black smoke, and I was like, dude, we are all getting cancer. Like, this is terrible. And finally got it to burn, and then once it started, it was not going out. And we were like, oh no. Like trying to throw snow on it, and it taken on its own life of like just trying to burn itself to the ground. But yeah, we were so carved for the horse. We didn't even have songs. We didn't
Yeah.
have anything, but we were like, this teaser would be sick. And so we got into the studio and we were like, hey, Dad, can you just come and track like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds of something, because we need to have a song just for the teaser. So Dad goes in the studio and he's like, after work one night, he's like, yeah, sure, come on in. Get everything set up. Russ starts playing the bass riff, just messing around. And then Trevor starts playing the drums, and I was like, what is that? And I literally ran out, and before I could even get my guitar on, I started screaming lyrics into the mic, and we wrote the whole song in like 30, 40 seconds. Like, it just, as long as the song is, that's how long it took to write it.
Right.
From start to finish. Almost entirely lyrically, too. Like, it just came out. It was done. And we were like, well, shoot, like, that worked out a lot better than we thought.
Well, and also I think a big part of that for you was like how you said you were like it had been so long. It seemed as if you were like so hungry to just get back at it again.
Yeah, I was.
And like you had these ideas, and so all of these ideas kind of flooded you, and so that's why I think that like this is just that you three had just like.
Yeah, it
like,
definitely
made it.
is, 'cause like I was from this day forward, I was a front man and I just sang. And so I got to basically take every crappy thing that I was feeling, everything I was doing, and just throw it at the crowd every show. And we would play this little joint called the Mess Hall. And it was over St. Andrew Street, somewhere over in that neighborhood. And it was just this tiny garage, and it was not safe. And like, if that place would have lit on fire, we all would have died horrible deaths. And like, sometimes the garage door wouldn't always go up, or different things like that. But that place was crazy because you're like this close to the crowd, and you're screaming in their face, and they're screaming back at you. And there was something that I didn't realize. Like, I got so focused on my son being born and being a good husband, owning a business, and being like, oh, these are things that I need to do and do well, because I just don't really have any other option. And so I kind of like flipped the switch off and was like, I don't need that anymore. It's fine. And like, the band had dissolved in the sense of the guys had gone to college. We played one set of shows back, and Russ played bass with us. And that
that's so
was
crazy.
actually the first time. There's Russ right now. That was the.
Hey, you still doing the thing?
Yeah. Are you still on the TV?
I really hope you see this, Russ.
But yeah, it was definitely one of those things where, like, we played the show and it was funny, and some old guy threw a beer on me, and Russ thought I was insane because I was trying to fight from the stage this old guy who definitely didn't need me to try to fight him, but he just kept yelling things and being so rude, and then he threw part of his beer on me, and like the guitar player had to like hold me because I was like trying to run off the stage.
One of my favorite parts about From This Day Forward, which was your second band, correct?
Yeah,
Because you went from Radio and Red.
Radio and Red to From This Day Forward.
And when From This Day Forward start? Did it start like after you were in high school, or?
I had already I had graduated, and that was why I joined, because they were still in high school,
Mhm.
and I graduated, and my first band all went to college. I was like, what's his name? I was I was like Matthew McConaughey, where I just hung around and I just kept hanging out with the high school kids. Everybody would leave, and I was like, "Well, all right, what's this? What's this like junior year guys doing?"
Yeah, right.
And they were in rock
Except
school.
like
and-
less creepy than
Oh,
Matthew
way less
McConaughey,
creepy,
where
way
it was
less
just like,
creepy.
I want to find out what these dudes are doing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because the guys from the Safe Word were all in rock school. That's how I met them, and so I started playing with them.
Jordan Seidel was in
Oh,
rock
yeah.
school.
Jordan-
Awesome. That's
Jordan,
my favorite part. Is the fact that
Bargman, and Singer were all in rock school.
My-
That's how we started it.
my favorite part about that was Jordan Seidel being in this band, and he had told me this, and he became my band teacher in high school.
Oh yeah, Weeks is rad.
It's so cool.
He
Jordan's
would-
the coolest.
When he came back from school, I was so stoked to be able to like text him like theory questions. Like, hey, I haven't gone this far. Like, what what is this part real quick? Because I have a kid asking me. So that was fun. But
Super
well,
cool guy.
I guess we're almost to the question and answer.
Yes, we are.
Is there anything else you had? Any other questions you had?
I mean, not really. Is there any shameless plugs that you want to do?
I run a recording studio, Flatiron Recording. I'm in a band, Dead Martha's. I don't know, The Cave. Come down here, drink coffee.
Come down here, drink coffee. That's what I've been doing this whole time. Oh, also, yeah, those two things. Go out to the Rock School show on August.
Yep, August 20th, Rock
20th.
School.
And then Dead Martha's with Mildred, July 30th.
Any shows that you guys can make it to here at The Cave, there's going to be some really cool ones coming up. So
Oh, definitely. There's always something to do down here at the Cave Collective, off at 5th Street, right across the street from the parking garage. Come on down. Also, a quick shout out to your son,
Oh, yeah, Archer.
Archer. We love you.
Archer, if you're watching, I love you, man.
Uncle Wyatt loves you too.
I love you too, Ange.
And
I love
Angela,
anybody who's watching.
Thanks.
Just
Yeah, anybody
general.
that's really watching this, we are wasting your time. So thank you for tuning in.
Dexter is making a hand motion. Oh, yeah. Flatiron Recording and Rock School are located over at 505 Kansas City Street. And you can find us. We've got Instagrams, websites, other things. There's a Russell. Russell has entered the building. Yeah. So that's. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else.
I don't have anything else. ask.
Do we have any internet questions? Should we ask? Like, I guess we can ask if they're internet questions while we ask if anybody here has questions.
Yes. Does anybody in the crowd have questions? The immediate crowd.
Rock School, we try to do like it's mostly skill based. If we have we had one drummer who was like 7 who could blow me out of the water. So that was fine to have, somebody that young. Normally we shoot for 8 to 18 as like our rough numberings, but it just kind of depends on where they're at, because the program is much more based on being a band teaching experience, not a individual instrument teaching experience. So if they're not up on playing to a certain level, then we try to steer them into like private lessons, and then once they get comfortable with it, because I've had a lot of kids that didn't play guitar, started guitar lessons, and then within 3 months when the rock school thing started, going in and playing in rock school. So it doesn't have to be a super long road. It just depends on them, really. So
And you don't really have to be, I guess, of any young age or old age for lessons, right?
No, there's no age limit that. I guess technically I do have the age limit of I don't do guitar lessons or bass lessons on anybody under the age of 8 because of hand strength, because it's too hard of a time for them to really get used to it.
Totally.
No, the best rock school story age-wise is we had a couple that met in rock school that were in their like mid-20s that ended up getting married because they met in rock school.
In rock school in their mid-20s?
They joined rock school and they were like 23, 24.
Wow.
And they misread the flyer and they came, and then they were like, well, yeah, I guess we'll just keep doing it. And they went through the semester and they started dating and they got married.
When was that? That was before my time.
Oh yeah. I think I was like 12 or
Okay.
13. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I was I was young. So
All right. Any other questions from our immediate live audience? Does Russ have any questions?
Oh, okay. All right, my son wants to know who is better, Godzilla or Mothra. I'm gonna have to go with Mothra, just because I'm pretty sure that's not who Archer wants me to pick. But I dig Mothra.
Uncle Wyatt's gonna say Godzilla for you, Arch. I'll come over to play Skyrim soon.
He asked me about that this morning.
Did he really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess if there's other questions, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came. Thanks to the cave for having me, putting up with me talking for almost an hour.
I mean,
A lot of kids have to deal with that, so you guys are among the lucky.
for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything else you need, Dexter? Okay. Cool.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Wyatt.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.